Today's first reading is from Matthew 26, verses 36 to 56. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." While he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived. With him was a large crowd, armed with swords and clubs, sent from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had arranged a signal with them. "The one I kiss is the man. Arrest him." Going at once to Jesus, Judas said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. Jesus replied, "Do what you came for, friend." Then the men stepped forward, seized Jesus, and arrested him. With that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. "Put your sword back in its place," Jesus said to him, "for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way?" In that hour Jesus said to the crowd, "Am I leading a rebellion that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writings of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. And now we're going to skip a little bit ahead to Matthew 26, verse 69 to 75. Now Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him. "You also were with Jesus of Galilee," she said. But he denied it before them all. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. Then he went out into the gateway, where another servant girl saw him, and said to the people there, "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth." He denied it again with an oath, "I don't know the man." After a while, those standing there went up to Peter and said, "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." Then he began to call down curses and swore to them, "I don't know the man." Immediately a rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken, "Before the rooster crows you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. So there's just a few things that I want to pick out from those passages. I'm just reminded that when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, he prays 3 times. He goes off to pray and leaves the disciples to go and pray to God. And he does it 3 times. 3 days he was dead and buried. And on the 3rd day we know that he rose from the dead. And it's just interesting to me that after the 3rd time that he prayed in the garden, he comes back and says, "Rise, let us go." And it just, maybe it's just a little clue to us, the reader, about what was coming and about his death. But also, it's just amazing that we see here that Jesus doesn't want to die. He asks God to take this cup away from him, but if it is his will, then his will be done. And the fact that Jesus chose to die on the cross for us, even though he didn't want to go through with it, he chose to do it, shows just how much he loves us. And then again with Peter, and him denying Jesus 3 times, there's that number 3 again. And after the 3rd time, the cock crows, and he realises that he's messed up. And I don't know about you, but for me, I've had situations in my life where you've come to that realisation that I've messed up. The cock crows, if you like, and you realise. I think we can all relate to moments like that where we realise, despite our best efforts, we've messed up. And it's for people like that that Jesus died on the cross.